We want to talk about the difference between static and dynamic graphs, and understanding the difference between both the graphs is very important. It's very, very important, because when you start writing down about a graph, you don't know about either the graph is dynamic or static, and you don't understand the difference, because the way we approach towards the static graph is different than dynamic graph. And if you can't differentiate between both of them, then you can't score good. Okay, here we come up. Why is it important to understand graphs for the IELTS writing task 1? Why is it important, Claire? First of all, when we come up here, in your task achievement, Claire, of task 1 clearly states that you will not get band 7 if you do not clearly present key features of the chart. If you're not capable to present key features of the graph, so you won't get 7 band. So what if a student, he doesn't understand about either a graph, it's static or dynamic, so how can you score well? Okay, now this is how like we come up with the band criteria for the 6 band, 7 band. What are the things we need to focus here? First of all, for the 7 band, can you read the 7 band achievement? That the criteria first covers the requirements of the task. For 7 band, you cover up, Clay, you cover all the requirements of what? Of the task. Number 1. Number 2, presents clear overview of main trend, differences or stages. Clear? And then here, if you come up with this point, they say clearly presents, clear, and highlights key features. What are the key features? So we need to understand what are the key features. But for the 6th band, can you see here, that presents and clear adequately highlights key features, like the key features here, you highlights all the key features, but right now here you don't highlight them that much. That's why you get 6 band. And but here, if you come up with this, presents but not sufficiently clear, you present your idea but not sufficiently, that's why you get what? Less band and IELTS. So static and dynamic graphs and writing task 1. So this is how we can explain them. Static means that the data comes from one point in time. From how many points? 1 point. As I mentioned earlier, like the data they represent, it would be for 1 year. For how many years? Only for 1 year. Clear? It comes only for 1 year. Number 1. Or either the data you want to receive, there would be no years. Like time won't be mentioned. Number 1, the difference, the static diagrams, we call them, those diagrams, clear, either it represents only one time, clear, point of time, or there is no year. Excellent. Number 1. Number 2, dynamic means the data comes from more than one point in time. For example, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, and 2004, 2005, clear? So that's what? More than one point in time, clear? So that's why we call it what? We call it dynamic. So here we come up here with the static charts contain data points belonging to either a single time frame, such as 1 year, 1 month, etc., or have no time references at all. There is no time references at all. When we come up with the dynamic one, clear, is dynamic charts contain data points in several time periods. For example, 24 hours from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 10 years from 2000 to 2020, or days from Monday to, clear, Saturday, Sunday or Saturday. Yes. So that's what we call them. Now look, like if you want to take example of this, so first of all, let's come towards that of the timeline. So we call it what? Dynamic. Why do we call it dynamic? Because it contains, what does it contain? It contains more than 1 year. Excellent. Clear? 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014. Number 1, timeline is in the past. Timeline is in the past, but the diagram, clear, the graph they provided you, we call it which? Dynamic graph. Excellent. Now let's take this one again. It is dynamic. Now what do we call it? Dynamic. Which one? Dynamic. But now let's take example of this one. Do we have any year? No. Why? Yes, we call it, yes. Very good. Clear? There is no time. Excellent. No time. Clear? So we call it static. Now let's take example of this one. Again, it is static. Why? Because there is only 1 year. Excellent. Now let's take example of this one. It's static or dynamic? Static. Why? Because you don't have any year. Excellent. Now let's come. What's the difference? Why, Claire, it's important for you to understand to differentiate between static and dynamic graphs. Why? Why do we want to study, Claire? Why did I focus more on it? Because when you want to talk about your dynamic, in dynamic chart, you describe how things go up and down. How things go up and down, increase or decrease, how it increased, how it decreased. Data gora workshe sayida. Jaga چې اکثر سټوډنټ په دې نه پوهیږي نو دا چاته دومره اندازه هم نه وي د دې ګرافس والا نو هغه بس په هغه ټول په یو شانته لیکي نو بیا خو ته چې ټول ولیکي بیا خو تاته سکور نه درکوي you won't get your score. So now how things go up, they can be increase or decrease, because in a graph then we can have three different types of movements. Three. Number one, upward movement, downward, or there could be stability. No change, constant. So now for dynamic one, we need to understand to study about when it goes up, down, and there is stability. Excellent. So now and go down, change or stay the same over different time periods. But now when you come up with a static graph, so static graph, clay chart, you describe how things are similar. How things are similar. We do not talk about how it increased or it decreased, but in fact we talk about what? How things are similar to each other. Do you want? Yeah, we do comparisons. Excellent. In static one only we do what? We do only comparisons. Excellent. Like for example, similar or different. How things are similar or how they are different. Clear? Bigger or smaller. Clear? Clear? Inside one time period. Excellent. So that's what like you need to understand about that. For example, let's take example of this one. Can you see? This is an example. How many years do you have? There are different years. So now, what do we call it now? It's dynamic year. Excellent. But now look, can you see here? Figure improved, significantly improved, increased, decreased. Very good. Can you see? Understand the language now. For example, like come up here, however, they slightly dropped, they increased. Clear? So this is how like clear were concern base, and this figure reaching a high. Clear? However, they started to drop. So what we need to understand here that in this figure and the one with dynamics one, Clear, we write down the increase or decrease always, where it increased, where it decreased. But if you take example of the static one, Clear, for the static graph. Now can you see how many years are there? There's only 1 year, 2008 or 2000, I think 2008. Now can you see what we don't talk about the increase or decrease here, but we do we do comparisons. Excellent. Now we will talk later on like in details. Clear? We'll take some of the examples and we will keep writing down, but before moving towards that, later on you should know about the difference between both of the graphs. Like significant difference. Can you see difference between the students undergoing part-time work and higher studies among the undergrad? While this clear difference was negligible, almost 18,000. Did we talk about increase or decrease? No, we talk about the differences. Excellent. Now, for example, it is noticeable that large proportion of undergraduate and postgraduate students were unemployed. Large. Can you see? Large, small, big, clear, similar, differences. So that's what like we want to talk about them. Is this clear now to all of you? Did you understand the difference between both of them? All right, that's good. Now,